Today, we're gonna find out how fast you can beat Pokemon Black and White with only Samurott. With Legends Arceus right around the corner, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at one of the Hisuian starters back in their original game. And would a challenge run really be a challenge without self-imposed rules? Of course not, so you can see mine on screen now. They're also in the description down below if you'd like to refer back to them. All the starters in Gen 5 have a base stat total of 528. Of the three, Samurott is the most well-rounded with pretty average stats across the board. Interestingly enough, the Samurai actually has higher special attack than attack. I always think of this thing using moves like Aqua Jet and Razor Shell, so that never occurred to me. As a kid, I used to always pick fire-type starters, so most of my experience lies with Emboar. Regardless, this thing is a starter, so it has to be solid, right? Well, here's the main problem I see with the Pokemon. If we look at its level up moveset, it only gets water or normal type moves aside from Fury Cutter and Revenge, but why would I use those? Fury Cutter is pretty bad and Revenge is better for slower Pokemon. Also, I know it says we get Mega Horn at level 1, but that's just not true. At least it gets access to Swords Dance at level 57, which means the endgame hopefully won't be too bad. Berg and Elisa are both super effective against Samurott, so our early to mid game might be a little tough. Thankfully, the Sea Lion can learn the TM for Dig, which we found out the hard way in my Archeops run is the best way to beat Elisa's Zebstrika. But before we get there, let's see how Gym 1 against Silent goes. The gimmick of this gym is constant use of Work Up, which raises a Pokemon's attack and special attack. However, the leader will always have the Elemental Monkey that is super effective against your starter. The game gives you the third typed monkey in the Dream Yard as a way to counteract this, but obviously I can only use Samurott in battle. I still grab Pansear as a cut user, and now let's see how this goes. Silent leads with Lillipup, who we Water Gun for around 60%. Then, of course, he uses Work Up, and since he's out of healing range, another Water Gun takes him out. Pansage is next, which has Vine Whip, so all we can do is spam Tackle and hope for no crits. Okay, turn 1 he uses Work Up, and it looks like we have a 3-hit KO on our hands. Vine Whip connects next turn, but actually only does around 25%, so we're able to knock the monkey out no problem and get our first gym badge. By the way, I named my Samurott Jack for obvious reasons. Well, maybe they're not so obvious. Am I getting old? Samurott has no trouble with the rival battle against Sharon, so we continue on to Nacrene City. Here you can grab an attack type boosting item for any of the starters' typings. Since we're using Samurott, I pick up the Mystic Water, and with its help, we take N out without taking any damage. Next, I clear out the gym trainers, and it's time for Lenora. Hertier's Intimidate means we'll be using Water Gun for this fight. We do 50% with our first attack, and after a takedown, the recoil means we'll have a guaranteed kill on the next. Unfortunately, Watchog looks like it'll be a 3-hit KO. We need to hope that a Hypnosis doesn't connect in that time span, or else we could be in trouble. Turn 1 it uses Leer, and then after another Water Gun, Retaliate does big damage. Now in healing range, all I can do is keep using Water Gun. Good thing Samurott outspeeds because this battle was actually really close. The move Retaliate does double damage if used the turn after an allied Pokemon faints. If Lenora had used it on the turn she sent Watchog out, it would have done around 50% of Samurott's health. Then after the second, I would have been one hit from dying. Since she got the opportunity to heal, Lenora actually could have beaten me if she just had better AI. Let's talk about Berg. It's honestly really great that I'm playing White and not White 2. Instead of having 2 grass types in Swadloon and Leavanny, Berg now only has the latter as his ace. But there is a downside to facing Whirlipede. It has Screech, and boy does it like to use it. Once my defense is down 2 stages, it'll be easy for Leavanny to take me out with Razor Leaf. On top of that, the dual grass bug type resists water, so how am I gonna take it out? Remember when I said I wouldn't be using Fury Cutter? Well, it's Samurott's only way through grass types. The bug type attack doubles in base power each turn it's successfully used, capping at 160. In Gen 5, it was buffed from a starting base power of 10 to 20. Not a huge change, but you do get to max power 1 turn faster. Gen 6 buffed the move even more, raising its base power to 40, but we aren't so lucky as to have that. The other trick to this move is that it's not 100% accurate, so if it misses, the power resets. At level 25, I decide to try taking the gym leader down. Razor Shell is a roll to kill Whirlipede, but if it does, I think we'll be in good shape. Of course it lives, and there's the Screech. To add insult to injury, my next Razor Shell actually one-shots. Berg goes straight to Levani, and after a Fury Cutter, wow, that's a lot of damage. The next Fury Cutter does good damage, but too little too late as another Razor Leaf decimates me. Learning from my mistakes in the last run, instead of wasting time trying again, I grind Samurott to level 28 where Razor Shell pretty much always kills Whirlipede, and it's time for round 2. Of course I low roll and Whirlipede lives, but it actually uses Poison Tail instead of Screech, so we have a chance. After Berg heals, my second Razor Shell one-shots again, and it's time to face Levani. Since I outspeed, Berg uses String Shot on his ace's first turn as we connect our first Fury Cutter. So far, so good. Ugh, he really uses Protect? That's so obnoxious. Razor Leaf looks like it's doing around 32 damage, so sadly we can only live one more. Will our next Fury Cutter kill? Not after that second Protect. Razor Leaf takes us down to 24 HP as we get Levani into the yellow. No need for Berg to protect now as he can safely click Razor Leaf and win the battle. Surely attempt 3 is the lucky number. Whirlipede actually dies to our first Razor Shell, so I'm in high spirits. When Levani comes out, I debate using a Tail Whip, but ultimately decide to just start building up Fury Cutter. Berg uses Razor Leaf off the bat, which is great since now we'll still outspeed the bug. No Protect comes out, so a base 40 Fury Cutter brings Levani down to about 25%. Now the String Shot hits, but it won't make a difference. Razor Leaf doesn't crit, and we take Levani out with a base 80 power Fury Cutter. Last is Dwebble, but one Mystic Water boosted Razor Shell is all it takes to kill this crab, and I can finally leave Castelia City behind. On our way out of the city, we have rival battles with Bianca and Sharon. The first one goes smoothly since Bianca's Pansage still only has the very weak Vine Whip. Sharon, however, is a different story. I didn't heal before fighting him since Bianca did so little damage to me, but Sandstorm Chip is definitely something to worry about. P-Dove dies to a Razor Shell, but now Snivy has evolved into Servine. I start my Fury Cutter chain as Leech Seed connects. Now that's extra chip on top of sand damage. Leech Seed recovery is the only reason Servine survives my next attack, and then it unleashes Leaf Tornado, which brings me down to 7 HP. I barely hang on after Sand, but Leech Seed tragically saps away my last hit point. I check some damage calcs, and I feel confident I can beat Sharon, so I go in for another attempt. Again, his P-Dove gets wasted, and Servine comes out. I use Retaliate this time instead of Fury Cutter to get Servine to eat its Citrus Berry right away. I was expecting Leech Seed, but Sharon actually decides to set up a Growth, which is pretty scary. After Sand Chip, we're able to take the kill with another Retaliate, so no Leaf Tornado this time. Next is Panpour, but the pre-evolved monkeys are pretty weak, so it dies to 1 Retaliate. Last is Lipard, who we're able to outspeed and kill with a Razor Shell. I make sure I grab Dig and teach it to Samurott before moving on to Nimbasa City. This battle with N is just as easy as the last, so now we're free to take on the gym. Judging from Berg and Sharon, we aren't doing too well against Pokemon we're weak to, but Elisa's gym trainers go down a lot easier than I thought they would. Let's see if we can beat the leader on attempt 1. Her Emolgas outspeed Samurott even though they're 8 levels lower. Volt Switch does a lot of damage, but it's less than 50%, and as the second Emolga comes out, it dies to Razor Shell. Emolga number 1 comes back in, and this Volt Switch actually low rolls. Zebstrika comes out and also dies to Razor Shell. Then I'm able to Aqua Jet the Emolga that comes back in to get the win before it could kill me with Volt Switch. I didn't use Aqua Jet from the start because it was actually a roll to kill while Razor Shell was guaranteed. I will admit I got a little lucky not getting paralyzed from static until the very end of the battle where it didn't matter. Funny thing is, I thought I would definitely need Dig for this, and I didn't even use it. I thought Elisa was going to be harder than Berg, but that's a first attempt win. Aqua Jet really made the difference here. You know it's not a good thing if I'm showing another Sharon battle. He opens with Lipard, who uses Fake Out on turn 1, so I can't attack. Then Razor Shell takes it down and Servine comes out. I connect Fury Cutter as Leaf Tornado does around 30 damage, but also lowers my accuracy. The next attack isn't enough to knock the Grass Starter out as it munches on a Citrus Berry and sets up Leech Seed. Fury Cutter gets a kill next turn, so I feel good still having 61 HP to deal with Panpour and Tranquil. This is where things go downhill fast. Thanks to Leaf Tornado, I miss my next Fury Cutter, so now the base power I was building up is gone. On top of that, Panpour uses the not very effective Scald and gets a burn. Between Leech Seed, Burn Chip, and my attack being halved, I don't see a way I win this one. Samurott misses another Fury Cutter and dies to Bite. Am I just gonna struggle with every Sharon battle? He doesn't even have Superior yet. Here goes attempt 2. After Lipard's Fake Out, I decide to start building up Fury Cutter's power from the jump. Hopefully by the time Servine comes out, we can just one-shot it. Seriously? Torment? There goes any chance I have at beating Servine. I Aqua Jet to finish off the Dark type, and now it's time for my mortal enemy. Razor Shell actually does more damage than I thought it would, but now I'm seated. I decide to test a Fury Cutter, but it does basically nothing as Servine eats its Citrus Berry and sets up Growth. It even regains more health from Leech Seed. I hopelessly Razor Shell as Sharon comfortably sets up another Growth. A Fury Cutter crit almost gets us out of this jam, but it's not enough, and Leaf Tornado shreds Samurott. As I'm sitting here watching back the footage, I gotta say, this run is worse than it felt while I was playing. I definitely don't recall all these blackouts, probably because I've removed them from my memory. Will attempt 3 be the one again? Now I know I can't let Lipard live after Fake Out, so I go back to the Razor Shell kill. Servine is next, so it's time to spam Fury Cutter. We actually managed to dodge Leaf Tornado, which is massive. After a second Fury Cutter, Servine sets up Leech Seed, but even after all its recovery, it still goes down to our third. Finally back to Panpour, Fury Cutter doesn't miss, it actually crits, guaranteeing this monkey goes down. This is the first time we get to see Tranquil, and it uses Detect to get a little chip from Leech Seed. Pretty meaningless since we're faster, so next turn we can Razor Shell for a kill and finally move on from this battle. Nothing exciting happens on our way to Dripville City or in cold storage, so we jump to our face-off with Clay. All it takes is 3 clicks of Razor Shell and we're out of this gym without taking damage from any of the trainers. Definitely felt nice to have an easy one after what I just went through. Between here and Mistralton City, there's a very easy Bianca fight, but at the end of Chargestone Cave, we have to battle N, whose team is a little problematic. Since his Boldor has Sturdy and would survive a Razor Shell, I decide not to waste the PP, so I Aqua Jet as he uses Iron Defense. One more takes the pile of rocks down, and N sends out Joltik. As a pre-evolution, this spider is nothing to be scared of as we drop it with Razor Shell. Clink is next, so you finally get to see me use Dig on screen, which one-shots. And now here's the problem Pokemon, Ferroseed. This thing is a physical attacker's nightmare. Incredible bulk coupled with the ability Iron Barbs means the longer this thing stays on the field, the better chance it has of winning a battle. Since I currently don't have any special moves on Samurott, every time we attack, we'll be taking damage equal to 1/8 of our max health. I use Dig since it's neutral against the Grass Steel type, but this allows it to set up an Iron defense so it'll be harder to knock out. We connect and don't even do 50% as it raises its defense another 2 stages. Razor Shell has a 50% chance to lower defense by 1 stage, which actually happens on the next turn, so instead of being at max defense after this 3rd boost, Ferroseed is at +5. I go for Dig again, and while I'm underground, this thing maxes its defense out. It looks like I'm not even doing enough damage to kill with another, but at least Ferroseed is using the not very effective Metal Claw. Like I thought, my next Dig doesn't get the kill, and now Iron Barbs has brought us pretty low on health. One last Dig is able to finish off the Metal Seed as we barely make it out of this battle alive. Now with a heavy heart, we say goodbye to Fury Cutter as I replace it with the Return TM I bought in Nimbasa City. Return's power is calculated by taking the Pokemon's friendship value and dividing by 2.5. Since Samurott is at maximum friendship, or 255, this effectively gives me an attack with a base power of 102. Time to take on Skyla. Her Swoobat outspeeds me for a Heart Stamp, but after that it goes down to a Razor Shell. Next is Unpheasant, who definitely has better defense as it survives my attack and leers me. Skyla uses a Hyper Potion and I annoyingly get a crit Aqua Jet, which puts the bird in healing range yet again. After the next Hyper Potion, my plan actually works out where I can Aqua Jet for around 40% and then outspeed and kill on the next turn with Razor Shell. Last is Swanna, which is why we needed Return. The first does around 75% as the Swan sets up Aqua Ring. That won't be helping as we connect another Return, earning our 6th gym badge. Is everyone excited for another Sharon battle? I know I'm not. I can't control the weather while playing, but I actually got lucky that it was raining outside of Twist Mountain for this fight. Unpheasant dies to a Razor Shell, and this is the last battle before Sharon has Superior. I did pick up the TM for X-Scissor on Route 7, but didn't end up teaching it to Samurott before this. Return does big damage, and in return, Servine hits Leaf Blade for a huge chunk of health. See what I did there? Leftovers recovery is meaningless as next turn we kill the Serpent with another Return. Liepard is next and we know how this one goes. Fake Out, Flinch, Razor Shell kill. Last is Simipour and I'm having PTSD to the Scald Burn. Return isn't enough to knock it out and he actually goes for it again. It's a good thing that one didn't burn because if it did, I would not have been responsible for my actions. A first attempt Sharon battle feels so good. There are no issues getting through Twist Mountain, and in order to avoid time loss, I decide to battle Bryson without going back to the Pokemon Center to replenish PP. He opens with Vanillish, who dodges an Aqua Tail, which Samurott learned at level 45. He then sets up Acid Armor, raising his defense by 2 stages. Next turn, I connect Aqua Tail, but with the defense buff, the Ice Cream Cone stays on the field. It Acid Armors again, and then after Bryson heals, my attack does just under 50%. Another one brings Vanillish into the red, and now it's at plus 6 defense. I can't waste the rest of my Aqua Tail PP, so I use Aqua Jet, but Bryson heals a second time, so it doesn't do much damage. The next few turns, we trade returns and mirror shots until the gym leader's first Pokemon goes down. It's a good thing Vanillish doesn't have any attacking moves that can really hurt Samurott because that was definitely a war of attrition. Next is Bryson's ace Beartic. I use an Aqua Tail to get it into the yellow as it crits a slash but doesn't really do too much damage. Next turn we're able to kill with Aqua Jet, bringing the gym leader down to Cryogonal. This Snowflake's physical defense is so bad we're easily able to kill with our last Aqua Tail. I honestly could have just used Aqua Jet and I still would have gotten the win. From here, there's a lot of story without any difficult battles, so just to recap, I make my way through Dragon Spiral Tower, talk to Ghetsis in Relic Castle, and get the Darkstone from Lenora in Nacrene City. On my way to Opelucid, Bianca stops me for our last battle against her. This one wasn't too interesting if we're being honest. The only big damage I took was from her Simisage's Seed Bomb, but her Stoutland, Empour, and Musharna went down pretty easy. With that, it's time for the last gym battle against Iris. Her dragons are gonna be a bit of an issue since they resist water, so to help get a little extra damage down, I gave Samurott the Rocky Helmet I picked up in cold storage. When hit with a physical move, the attacker will take 1/6 of their max HP as damage. Return isn't strong enough to knock out Fracture, so I start things off with Aqua Jet. After a Dragon Dance, we're still faster than the Stage 1 Pokemon, so we kill it with Return. Next up is Drutagon, who we hit with Return for a little over 50%, and after a chip away, Rocky Helmet damage puts the dragon in healing range. I decide to use Aqua Jet in hopes that Return plus Rocky Helmet damage can get the kill. Drutagon survives and hits Dragon Tail as we rinse and repeat until Iris runs out of heals. Last up is Haxorus, who can do big damage if it gets D-Dance going. Here's where the Rocky Helmet saves us. Return does exactly 50%, and instead of Dragon Dance, we're hit with Dragon Tail. After the 1/6 HP loss, Haxorus is a sitting duck as we take it down with our last return, earning our 8th gym badge. One more Sharon battle and then we're off to the league. I taught Samurott the X-Scissor TM over return for this fight. I open with an Aqua Tail against Unpheasant as it whips up a Razor Wind. Before it gets the chance to attack, we're able to take it out with one more swing of our tail, and now Superior comes in. Samurott actually gets outsped here as the snake sets up Coil, raising its attack, defense, and accuracy. Even with the defense buff, X-Scissor still looks like a 2-turn kill. +1 Leaf Blade hurts a lot, but our Rocky Helmet guarantees that Superior goes down to another X-Scissor. Next is Lipard, but now I have a super effective attack in X-Scissor, so it gets one-shotted. And here comes Mr. Scald himself. X-Scissor does good damage, and of course we get hit with its namesake. No burn though, so we're able to finish the battle with one last X-Scissor. Once we get to the league, Samurott is at level 57 where it learns Swords Dance. I had this great strategy to beat Chantal where I would Dragon Tail Cofagrigus and Jellicent repeatedly to avoid dealing with Will-O-Wisp and Energy Ball. We open the fight and... wait, why did I get outsped? Wow, I'm dumb. Completely forgot the move has decreased priority, so obviously this strategy is a bust. Now let's move to my real Elite Four attempt. For consistency reasons, I decided I'll always take the league members on from left to right, so Chantal is always first, then Grimsley, Caitlyn, and Marshall in that order. I don't have a good way to deal with burn, so the best I can think of is to counteract it with Swords Dance. Surprisingly, Cofagrigus uses Shadow Ball turn 1, so now that I'm at +2 attack, one Aqua Tail is all it takes to get the kill. Next up is Jellicent, so now I go for Dig, which is what I replaced Dragon Tail with. The jellyfish actually survives the attack and brings me down to 69 HP with Energy Ball. Nice. After a full restore, I Aqua Jet to guarantee that my next Dig is a kill. Pretty shocked that Aqua Jet does so much damage. Anyway, Dig gets the kill, and now Golurk comes in. At +2, a super effective Aqua Jet is all it takes to KO the Ghost Golem and Chantal's Ace Chandelure. With a good win under our belt, we replace Dig with X-Scissor and move on to Grimsley. We start things off with an X-Scissor for 25% of Scrafty's health, who in return hits us with Crunch and gets the defense drop on us. Not good. Next turn, we get an Aqua Tail kill and Crocodile comes in. Intimidate isn't enough to save the Croc, as even at -1, we're able to take it down with another Aqua Tail. We use our first turn against Bisharp to set up Swords Dance as Night Slash hits for half the health we have left. +1 Aqua Tail is strong enough to kill, so now it's just down to Lipard. Turn 1 is a wash because of Fake Out, but then a +1 super effective X-Scissor wins us the battle. Now it's time for Caitlyn and her Psychic types. X-Scissor isn't enough to kill Reuniclus, who hits back hard with Thunder. Knowing Caitlyn is gonna heal now, I'm able to set up Swords Dance, and this battle is as good as won. X-Scissor takes down Reuniclus, Gothitelle, and Masharna, and then I use an Aqua Tail to KO Sigalith, giving us our 3rd win. Marshall is gonna be a little annoying to deal with. Between Sawk's Sturdy and Throw's Bulldoze, we have a few obstacles in our way. Turn 1, I decide to accept the fact that my speed is getting dropped as I opt for a Swords Dance. Then an Aqua Tail takes the fighting type down. Sawk is next, who I Aqua Jet, but even my weakest move does too much damage at +2. It hits back with Stone Edge, and then I continue to spam Aqua Jet until Marshall is out of heals. Even at -1 speed, I'm still faster than King Kelder, who goes down to an Aqua Tail. Last is Mienshao, who lands a jump kick, but our +2 Aqua Tail is more than enough to finish it off, and with that, the Elite Four is done. We make our way through End's castle until we're faced with the king himself. We need to catch Zekrom before this fight, and the game automatically makes it my lead Pokemon. I brought Panseer to the battle to swap in on turn 1 and take a quick death so I can get Samurott in at full health. There's a rare candy in End's room that I used, so that's why we're at level 61 now. For some reason, Reshiram uses the not very effective Fusion Flare against us, so we don't take too much damage as we set up Sword Stance. Seems like we're speed tying since now I go first, but I miss Aqua Tail. Hyper Beam brings me down to the yellow, and next turn a critical hit Aqua Tail connects, but at +2 the crit was just overkill. Kling Klang is next, who doesn't have enough bulk to live in Aqua Tail after the buff. N sends Zorork out after, who outspeeds me and manages to land a Focus Blast. Come on, he lands a 70% accurate move, but my Aqua Tail missed. Now in the red, we take it out with X-Scissor, but things don't look good. Caracosta has Sturdy, so I can't take it out in one hit. After a critical hit Aqua Jet, the turtle uses one of its own to erase our last 7 hit points. Since Zekrom is still in the party, I had to bring him in and just spam Slash until Caracosta's Stone Edges finally took us out. Now I can come back with only Samurott in my party for attempt 2. I don't change my strategy at all as I use Sword Stance turn 1 and N still attacks with Fusion Flare. Next turn we outspeed again and actually land Aqua Tail for a kill. Kling Klang once again is easy come, easy go, and now that we level up, we're able to outspeed Zorork for an X-Scissor kill. With Caracosta back in, I use Aqua Jet and don't get a crit, which is actually good. It does solid damage with Stone Edge, but since it's not in healing range, it goes down next turn to one more Aqua Jet. Since I have priority, Archeops is no problem. The Prehistoric Bird drops to my next Aqua Jet, leaving N with only Vanillux. We outspeed and hit an Aqua Tail for the win. All that's left now is to take down Getsis, so let's jump in. Unlike Chantal, Getsis's Cophagrigus doesn't have Will-O-Wisp, so I comfortably set up Sword Stance as Shadow Ball does around a quarter of my health. At +2, Getsis doesn't really have anything to stop me. His Cophagrigus, Bofalant, and Electros all go down to Aqua Tails. When Hydreigon comes in, it does outspeed me and hits Dragon Pulse for a good chunk of health, but the super effective X-Scissor takes the pseudo-legendary down. Seismitoad and Bisharp both go down to Aqua Tails as we successfully save the region. Samurott has never been my favorite Unova starter, but I think it did a really solid job with this challenge. We definitely had our struggles against Sharon and grass types in general, but I didn't really need to grind at any point to progress. Getting Sword Stance for the endgame really helped out, but the lacking move pool made things tough for us early on. With all that said, let's see what our final time was. I stopped the timer as the credits started rolling, which means Samurott clocked in at 2 hours, 33 minutes, and 58 seconds. This translated to an in-game time of 6 hours and 21 minutes. As a correction to my Archeops run, I said I was playing at 4 times speed, but it was actually around 2.5 times. Again, I didn't clock that run, so we can really only rely on the in-game time as a comparison. Even with that, I had bad routing and a lot of time loss since that was my first run, so take that number with a grain of salt. Regardless, this run felt pretty good, but I'm sure there are Pokemon out there who can do better. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for future runs. It really helps out. Also, be sure to comment which Pokemon you want to see take on this challenge next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.